Proportion is just an equation in which two ratios are set equal to one another. So if I say, hey, ratio equals ratio, in other words, fraction equals a fraction, typically we'll write these in the fraction form. That's the easiest way for us to solve these. But a proportion, if I say, hey, things are proportional, it just means their ratios are the same. So their ratios are equal. And when I have ratios that are equal, I can solve this by cross-multiplying. And here's how cross-multiplying works. I just take the numerator of one fraction times the denominator of the other fraction. That's C times B. And then I just say that equals, well, now I just take the numerator of this fraction times the denominator of the other fraction. So A times D. Okay? And that's it. And now whatever I have here in terms of equation, I can solve that thing for the thing that I'm missing. Okay? So cross-multiplying, it's always multiply diagonally and set those things equal to one another. That's cross-multiplication. And so if I look at something like this guy, again, I'm going to cross-multiply. So this is a ratio, so I cross-multiply 5 times the x is a 5x. I just write it down. And then I multiply the other diagonals, the 6 times the 4. Well, that's a 24, and I write it down. Oh, I guess I can use the same color here. And now what I do is I just say those two things are equal to one another. Okay? And now I go back to my days of algebra and say, okay, how do I solve if I have 5 times x? I solve, I undo multiplying by 5 by dividing each side by 5. So I'm going to divide each side by 5. And, this is a job, I can just plug this right into my calculator. I'm going to write it as a decimal. It's a 4.8. Okay? If I look at the next one, once again, I'm going to cross-multiply. So I just multiply the diagonals. I say, hey, y times 9, that's a 9y. And then I do the other diagonals, the 4 times the 3, well, that's a 12. And now to solve this, to undo multiplying by 9, I'm going to divide each side by 9. And so here I get y equals, again, I can just plug this right into my calculator. Gives me a decimal approximation. It's 1.3 repeating. Okay, so 1.33, something like that. Okay. If I look at the next one's a little bit tricky only because it's written in a format that's not really nice for cross-multiplying. So I'm just going to rewrite it. Keep in mind that this is just one of the formats that I can write my ratio in, and I could easily write it as a fraction instead. I'm going to write it as 5 over 2. And since I wrote that one as 5 over 2, I have to rewrite the next one the same way. I'm going to rewrite it as 3 over m. Okay? And keep in mind, I could have rewritten the first one as 2 over 5. I would have just had to write the second one as m over 3 then. Okay? So just make sure you're consistent in terms of the way you rewrite them. And now it's cross-multiply. Ready? Here I'm going to do 5 times m, and it doesn't matter which ones you multiply first. I always start with wherever I see the variable. So 5 times m is a 5m. And then 3 times 2 is a 6. And now, once again, this is going to be a job for my calculator. I'm going to divide each side by 5. So I get m equals 1.2. Almost wrote a 4 there. That would have been hilarious. 1.2.